Today I'm going to tell you about an exciting field experiment involving personalizing email marketing to increase charitable donations. I'm Kurt Munns, and this is joint work with Adam Alter and Nina Jum. So already 2/3 of US marketers were personalizing the email they sent last year. Personalization can mean many things. It can mean making a specific product recommendation, offering a personal discount, or it can simply mean personalizing by name. As common as personalization now is, open questions remain about its effectiveness. While addressing customers by name may feel intuitive, a 2012 study found that firms using customers' names in their email marketing observed lower response rates to their email campaigns. The authors speculated that some consumers may have been concerned over privacy issues, and some may have simply not liked a company attempting to use their name to try to persuade them. On the other hand, using a customer's name could be effective in some circumstances. So in the 2016 presidential election, this was an email sent by the Hillary Clinton campaign, sent to a person named Marguerite, and you can see that it was personalized by name. The campaign could have been effective because we know that people pay special attention to their own name, and they favor their in-groups. That's the Marguerites for Hillary bumper sticker. They created a group around the name Marguerite. It's also possible that sharing a name with others may make them seem more similar. So a 2011 study by Gallek, Small, and Stephen, of an analysis of secondary data from the microlending platform Kiva, they found that funders were more likely to fund projects led by someone of their same gender or profession. The authors argued that similarity on these dimensions reduced the social distance between the people, which increased the likelihood of behaving charitably. While forming a group of like-named people may have been effective in the Hillary campaign, we wondered if it could have been even more effective if the person in need was a member of the group. That is, would a person named Hillary have been more likely to give, to donate, to aid Hillary Clinton? So in this presentation, we will explore the effect of matching a person in need with the person of the same name and ask if this manipulation leads donors to behave more charitably. There's already some evidence that it might. People donated more to a requester who shared their first name in a study by Berger et al. In support of a cystic fibrosis charity, they found significantly higher donations to same-name requesters. So that's the person in the jacket shared the same name as the potential donor. However, they did not find it when the beneficiary shared the same first name. So if the person with cystic fibrosis shared the first name as the potential donor, they didn't find higher donations. So this is some evidence against the name-matching hypothesis. To answer our question, we partnered with DonorsChoose.org. DonorsChoose is one of the largest U.S. educational charities in the U.S. They maintain an online platform where public school K-12 teachers can seek funding for classroom projects that are otherwise not funded by their schools or school districts. Potential donors can browse the website or respond to periodic email solicitations and donate any amount to projects that they deem worthwhile. So we randomly assigned potential donors to receive an email about a project led by either a teacher with a matching surname or a random non-matching surname. So our procedure did not involve deception. The database of donors that DonorsChoose maintains is about 1.5 million large, which is sufficiently large enough to facilitate actual matching. So this is a very unique opportunity. Past studies were limited in that they relied on secondary data, so correlations, were smaller in scale, where they didn't necessarily measure costly behaviors. So prior to collecting any data, we pre-registered our design and planned for analysis. We used a yoke design. That is, each teacher was used as a stimulus in each condition exactly once. So teacher A able in the name match condition, as you see on the screen, is the same person and project as teacher A able in the name mismatch condition you see on the right. So each teacher was then matched with two potential donors who shared the same surname. So donor B able is distinct from A able and C able. So B and C are different people. And we randomly assign one of these potential donors to different conditions. So half were randomly assigned to a name match condition, half to a name mismatch condition. That is, the C's were randomly assigned to be on the left or the right, and the same for the B's. And then in order to get the name mismatch in the name mismatch condition, we changed the order, shuffled the order in the name mismatch condition such that the donor with a surname was not paired with a teacher who shared the surname. So we send this email to both conditions. Our dependent measures were whether or not they opened the email, whether or not they clicked on the link in the email, whether or not they donated and how much they donated. The subject line included the teacher's name, and the email read, "This summer, share the love with a teacher we've handpicked just for you, Mrs. Munns," which is a matching surname for me, but it would be non-matching in the non-matching condition. A teacher in that teacher's location needs help bringing her classroom project to life. And the classroom project was the text you see in blue there. It's, in this case, Desk Towers to Save the Day. That's the link that we're talking about. In contrast to the results of Berger et al., we showed, or our data showed that the donors whose surname matched the teacher in need behaved more charitably. Specifically, they were more likely to open the email, more likely to click on the link in the email. Conditional on opening the email, they were also more likely to click on the link. They were more likely to make a donation, and they donated more than twice as much. So one concern you might have at this point is that because we did name matching, names can often convey ethnicity, and that could mean that people are favoring their ethnic in-group rather than favoring their own name per se. So to try to control for this variable, the data we had didn't have the information about ethnicity from donors choose, so we attempted to control for this by appending data from the U.S. Census. Census data have the percentage likelihood that each name belongs to a specific ethnicity for 6 ethnicities. So we added that information to our data set and attempted to use them as control variables. So these next results that I'm presenting here include only people who match on the most likely ethnicity. That is, the teacher and the donor match on most likely ethnicity as inferred from their surname in the census data. And as you can see, our results are robust to this selection criterion. Now, at the beginning, I also said that we used a yoked design. These are the results excluding the yoked pairs. So it would always be true that you would be in an ethnicity match if you're in a name match because we inferred the ethnicity from the name. So what these results show is that if we also excluded the yoked pair from the name match condition, and we find the results are still robust. A secondary goal of this paper was to check for name-letter effects. So the authors of the Kiva study I mentioned earlier also checked if people were more likely to behave charitably to others who shared the same initial letter of their first name. The results were somewhat equivocal, but consistent with a very small positive effect. That is, people were more likely to fund others who shared their first name initial letter. A separate analysis found a similar finding. Chandler, Griffin, and Sorensen found that people who shared a first name initial letter with the name of a hurricane were more likely to donate to the victims of their namesake storm. These results are typically explained in terms of implicit egotism. So implicit egotism is a tendency to show favoritism toward incidental features of the environment that mirror one's identity, such as the letters of one's name or the numbers of their birthday. So some have claimed that implicit egotism can affect major life decisions, such as whom to marry, what profession to choose, or where to work. However, nearly all the evidence for real-world effects of implicit egotism have relied on secondary data, and many of the findings have been challenged on methodological grounds. So, for example, people often name businesses after themselves rather than choosing to work at companies that share their name, letter, initials, which reverses the supposed causal direction. As we mentioned earlier, third variable explanations could be at play too. So because they involve names and name letters, it could be that people are favoring their ethnic in-groups rather than their names per se. So these are important things to try to control. So we were able to test for name letter effects by examining our control condition, where none of the potential donors matched the teacher on surname. We addressed many of the past methodological concerns by conducting a randomized field experiment rather than by analyzing secondary data. And we also attempted to control for ethnicity. So within the control condition, we tested for surname first letters, and as before, we selected only those who match on most likely ethnicity. We found consistent directional evidence with a very small first name or surname first letter effect. Because we tested for this effect with a randomized field experiment and because we controlled for ethnicity, we believe this is the most unbiased evidence for implicit egotism in the real world to date. And if the effects are indeed driven by implicit egotism, one of the predictions from that literature is that the commonness of the name should matter. So less common names should be more uniquely associated with the self and therefore should have stronger implicit egotism effects. We found these effects on two of our dependent measures for donation and donation amount. That is, we got interactions. So the commonness of the name mattered only in the first letter match conditions for these variables. Just as a point of clarification, we operationalized commonness in two ways. So from just the data set, we counted the number of times a name appeared in the data set. The other way is we had the census data, so we knew the population level commonness of each name. Both methods were robust, produced the same results. So in sum, we find that potential donors behave more charitably toward teachers requesting money for classroom projects when the teachers shared their surname. These results highlight, at least in the context of charitable giving, that using a person's name to reduce social distance with the beneficiaries can increase charitable behavior. Even in the case like ours, when the firm was clearly using that person's name to attempt to persuade to raise additional donations. Many thanks to our helpers along the way. The three on the left are from Donors Choose, who helped us run the experiment, and we thanks to Wei for helping us do some data analysis. Thanks very much.